You think the reason they're not is just purely embarrassed, the fact that this is going to lose even more credibility with the audience, that what we've been saying this entire time, we've been wrong. We haven't done real, true investigative journalism.
I don't think that's it. I don't think that's it. If that was the reason, I could understand that reason. I think it's part of this implicit and explicit collusion. It's like, this isn't the story, and so we're not going to report it. And I think that economically, even that's a foolish decision, because Newsweek, I've been reading Newsweek recently. Newsweek has some journalists. They actually have some real information again, which is quite interesting.
It's still a left, though. It's still a liberal magazine.
But my experience has been in the last couple of months. I thought, oh my God, there's some actual news in Newsweek. And so that was really cool. But I see all this not only as collusion, which is absolutely appalling. So that's the death of journalism, because journalists are colluding with politicians. It's like, well, they're not journalists anymore. And they're also not politicians, because if they were politicians and journalists, they wouldn't be colluding. Whatever they are, as a consequence of this collusion, is not politicians and journalists. It's some completely new thing. Now, I'm less worried about it than I might be, because I also see it as part of the inevitable death spiral of the legacy media. They're dead. And why? Well, they don't have a monopoly over the dissemination of information at all. YouTube, for all of its flaws, which are manifold, is an unbelievably powerful and accessible technology where the cost of entry is zero. It's like no TV station can compete with that, period. They're done. And then these print media sources, especially when they're great people, Barry Weiss might be an example, leave because they can't say what they want to. They don't have to lose much of their talent before all they've got left is hacks. And then everyone can publish to an international audience instantly online. So part of what we're seeing in the mainstream media is a technologically fueled death spiral. And I know how large corporations die. So there's this principle, Pareto principle, which is that the square root of the number of people in a given creative enterprise do half the work. And so if you're a news organization with 1,000 people, 30 of them do half the work. And you think, no, and you can think that all you want, but you're just wrong, because this is one of the most well-established findings in social science, period. So you got 1,000 people, and 970 of them are putting in time, and 30 of them are doing half the work. And then something shifts. Those people can't say what they want to say, let's say.
The 30.
The 30. Well, what do? Well, they leave. Why? Because they can, right? These are people, these are competent people. They're really smart. They're on the edge. They're tough. They have immense networks of connections. As soon as the ship rocks, they think, ciao, you think I need you. It's like you got your priorities wrong. You need me. They go off like Barry Weiss did and start their own thing. And so then you're left with the 970 that was only doing half the work.
Yep.
And then the next 30 competent people leave. And soon all you've got is people who run the legacy media. And they say things like, well, Joe Rogan, people shouldn't listen to him because he just wings it. It's like, how clueless can you possibly be? Or you have people like at CNN who treat Rogan like he's an outsider, despite the fact that he's pulling in numbers that are at least 5 to 8 times their average viewership. Joe is fringe. It's like, really? We'll see who's fringe here. And part of this is purely technological. It's like, there's no way these legacy apparatuses can compete. How can they? Printing with universal distribution is free. Video with universal distribution is free. How can a network possibly compete? It can't. So spiral death. And as they die, they lose their editors, they lose their fact checkers, they lose their good journalists, they lose everybody with courage, and then they put out pablum and they're tempted by clickbait, because that's what you have to do while you're dying. It's like, Christ, we have to attract attention somehow. So you say, well, Joe Rogan apologized, and everybody clicks on it and they read it and they think that's a lie, and so you've lost another 5% of your viewership.
CNN is probably sitting in their board meetings saying, God, please, we need Trump to be president again, because when he was president, we were making money. We need somebody like that to be president. They're begging this guy to come back. Can you imagine if CNN ends up like putting him on left and right to berate him, but at the same time, they're getting more eyeballs. So if you enjoyed this little short segment from the podcast that we did, here's another short segment to watch. Or if you want to see the entire podcast, click over here. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.